Imagine waking up one morning to find a luxury Mercedes-Benz parked outside your family home. Not just any Mercedes either, but one painted in the colors of your country's flag, with your national flower hand-stitched into every inch of the leather seats. Now imagine you're 20 years old, you haven't even won a Grand Slam yet, and the car came from a company you haven't even signed with. That is the reality Alex is living right now, and honestly, the more you dig into this story, the more your jaw drops. Because this isn't just about a car. This is about two of the biggest brands on the planet going to war over a young woman from the Philippines who has quietly, steadily, almost impossibly become the most commercially powerful figure in women's tennis. And the wildest part? She hasn't even hit her peak yet. Let's rewind a little, because to understand why Adidas just did something that has never been done in the history of tennis, you need to understand who Alex actually is and what she represents. She grew up in Manila, in a country where tennis was never really the sport of the people. Football, basketball, boxing, those were the sports that filled stadiums and captured hearts. Tennis was something you watched on cable in the early hours of the morning, following players from Europe and America who felt a world away. But Alex changed that. Not overnight, and not without sacrifice, but she changed it in a way that feels almost cinematic when you look back at how it all unfolded. Nike saw something in her when she was just 14 years old. Think about that for a second. 14. She hadn't won anything significant on the world stage yet. She was a promising junior from Southeast Asia, a region that had never produced a genuine women's tennis force at the elite level. But Nike signed her anyway, and over the next 6 years, they didn't just sponsor her. They built a relationship with her. They celebrated her culture, her heritage, her journey. When she made her Wimbledon debut in 2025, Nike gifted her a custom hair tie adorned with the sampaguita flower, the national flower of the Philippines, with a handwritten note tucked inside. That detail matters, because it tells you everything about how Nike has approached this partnership. They weren't just paying for her to wear their logo. They were investing in her story. And her story, it turns out, is worth a lot more than anyone could have predicted. By the time Alex walked onto the courts at the Australian Open, the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships, and the Miami Open in 2026, something had shifted. The numbers coming out of those tournaments were not just impressive. They were historic. In Dubai, ticket sales jumped 48% year-on-year. 48%. Tournament director Salatala didn't even try to hide the reason why. He straight up said that Alex attracted an entirely new demographic to the sport, that every single one of her matches sold out completely, and that people were calling, emailing, doing everything short of showing up at the gates with cash in hand just to get inside the stadium. He said they had never seen anything like it. And Dubai is not a small tournament. This is a city that hosts world-class events every other week. For a tennis tournament director there to say he had never seen anything like it, that means something. Then came Miami, and the numbers got even more surreal. Her jersey accounted for 57% of all merchandise sold across the entire tournament. Not 57% of her section, not 57% among the women, 57% of everything, men's and women's combined. Every other player in the draw, including the top seeds, the Grand Slam champions, the household names, all of them together accounted for the other 43%. The ticket system crashed on the day sales opened because so many people were trying to buy seats for her matches at the same time that the server couldn't handle the load. Coco Gauff, who had faced Alex twice during the season, got off court after one of their matches, looked at the crowd, and basically laughed in disbelief. She thanked the fans, acknowledged that most of them were there for Alex, and then genuinely credited her for bringing new people into the sport. When one of the best players in the world is standing courtside giving props to a 20-year-old for the energy she brings to the game, you know you're watching something special unfold. Sky Sports presenter Gigi Salmon compared the atmosphere to a Taylor Swift concert. She didn't say it as an exaggeration or a throwaway comment either. She said people were screaming, the energy was unlike anything she had seen at a tennis event, and that Alex seemed to be thriving under it rather than crumbling. And that last part is important, because the pressure on this young woman is genuinely enormous. She has spoken about it openly. About what it feels like to walk into a stadium and have thousands of people lose their minds before she's even hit a single ball. About the weight of being the player that an entire diaspora has pinned their hopes and their identity onto. Because that's what this really is about, and Adidas understood it before almost anyone else in the corporate world did. The Philippines has over 115 million people. But the Filipino community doesn't stop at those borders. There are Filipino nurses working in Dubai, Filipino engineers in California, Filipino caregivers across Canada and the United Kingdom and Australia. For generations, this massive, scattered, fiercely proud global community had no tennis player to call their own. No one to watch at Wimbledon or the US Open and feel that electric sense of this is one of us. Alex changed all of that. And when those millions of people around the world started showing up, buying tickets, crashing websites, purchasing jerseys, the brands took notice.
Of course they did.
So let's talk about the money, because the numbers here are genuinely staggering. Adidas came in first with what sources described as a $150 million offer. 10 years, performance bonuses that could push the total even higher, a signature shoe line designed specifically for the Asian market, apparel collections, and equity stakes that would make Alex a genuine business partner rather than just a face on a billboard. That offer would have made her the highest-paid female athlete in endorsement history.
And she turned it down.
She turned down $150 million. Let that land for a moment. The reason, according to people close to the situation, came down to one word:
loyalty.
Nike had been with her since she was a teenager, finding her feet on the junior circuit. They had celebrated her wins and stayed through the losses. They had honored her culture in ways that felt genuine rather than performative. They had given her creative input, treated her as a partner rather than a product. When you've had that kind of relationship with a brand since you were 14 years old, walking away for money alone feels like a betrayal. And Alex, by every account, is not someone who makes decisions based purely on money. She said repeatedly that coming from the Philippines, having seen the kind of poverty and struggle that exists there even if she hasn't lived through it personally, she holds onto gratitude fiercely. She chooses her partners carefully. She thinks about what the association means, not just what the check says. But Adidas didn't accept that no as a final answer. They went back to the drawing board and came up with something that no one in the history of professional tennis had ever seen before.
They sent a car.
Not a standard luxury car with a branded keyring in the bag. A fully custom Mercedes-Benz sedan worth over $250,000, painted in the blue, red, and white of the Philippine flag, with 3 gold Adidas stripes running along the sides. Inside the car, every leather seat had been hand-stitched with Sampaguita flowers. The same national flower that Nike had referenced on that hair tie at Wimbledon. Adidas had done their homework. They understood the symbolism, and they used it deliberately and meticulously. The car arrived at Alex's family home in Manila on a quiet Wednesday morning.
No cameras. No press release.
No social media strategy attached to the delivery. Just a courier, a set of keys, and a document. Word got out anyway, because something this extraordinary cannot stay quiet for long, and when the story broke, the tennis world stopped what it was doing. People were not just impressed.
They were stunned.
The Women's Tennis Association was reportedly left scrambling to figure out what exactly had just happened and whether any rules had been broken. Adidas had been careful on that front though. The gift came with no conditions attached. No contractual obligation, no requirement that Alex wear their gear or post about them online. It was, on paper, simply a gesture.
A statement.
A way of saying we see you, we understand what you represent, and we're going to show that whether or not you ever put our logo on your back. From a pure marketing standpoint, it was one of the most audacious moves anyone in the sports industry had made in years. By attaching no strings to the gift, Adidas had effectively created a story that would be covered everywhere, talked about endlessly, and associated with their brand in a way that no conventional advertisement could ever manufacture. They didn't need Alex to sign with them to win something from this moment. The narrative was already in motion. But Nike was not about to stand still and watch all of this happen. The relationship between the American brand and Alex is too valuable, too carefully built, too deeply personal on both sides to be dismantled by $150 million or a custom automobile. Nike's response came within days of the car story breaking, and it was designed to send an equally clear message. They announced that Alex would be getting her own signature shoe line, the first ever for a Filipino athlete in history. The design would feature the Sampaguita flower on the heel and the Philippine flag on the tongue of the shoe. It was a direct echo of everything that had made their partnership meaningful from the very beginning, and it was timed perfectly to remind both Alex and the world watching that Nike wasn't just her sponsor.
They were her home.
Sources close to the situation described Nike executives as furious about the car gift, viewing it as an aggressive and somewhat underhanded attempt to poach an athlete they had developed from the ground up. And you can understand that frustration. 7 years of relationship building, 7 years of cultural sensitivity and creative collaboration and genuine investment in a player's identity, and now a rival brand shows up with a $250,000 car and threatens to rewrite the whole story. It speaks to how much the stakes have risen around Alex that both companies are now operating at this level of intensity. This is not how sponsorship negotiations usually work. Usually a brand makes an offer, the athlete's team counters, lawyers negotiate clauses, and eventually a deal gets signed. What we're watching with Alex is something different. This is two global giants in a genuine emotional bidding war, not just throwing money at her but trying to prove to her that they understand who she is and what she means. And the reason the emotional dimension matters so much is because Alex herself keeps making it clear that the emotional dimension is what drives her decisions. Her ranking at the time of all this unfolding sat at 46 in the world, having dropped from a career high of 29 after the points she earned from her incredible semi-final run in 2025 expired following Miami. She earned 390 points from that run and picked up only 120 in Miami, so the math hurt. But here's the thing that makes this whole situation so fascinating.
Her ranking dropped.
Her commercial value went in the exact opposite direction. The disconnect between those two facts is unlike almost anything the sport has seen before. Normally in tennis, your marketability is tied to your results. You win a Grand Slam, the endorsement offers flood in. You lose in the first round for 6 months, the calls slow down. That's the basic equation. Alex is breaking that equation entirely. She hasn't won a Grand Slam. She's ranked 46 in the world. And two of the biggest sports brands in history are fighting over her like she's the most precious signing available anywhere in professional sports right now. Because in terms of cultural impact, in terms of what she means to a specific massive global community, in terms of raw commercial pull, she might actually be exactly that. The merchandise numbers don't lie. The ticket numbers don't lie. The crashed websites and the sold-out stadiums and the Taylor Swift comparisons, none of that is manufactured. It's organic, and it's growing. When Alex walks out for a match in Stuttgart or Madrid or Rome this clay season, the atmosphere is going to be unlike anything those tournaments have seen from a player ranked 46. Her fans don't care about ranking points.
They care about her.
They travel for her, they buy tickets for her, they stream her matches at 3 in the morning in cities halfway around the world from wherever she's playing. She has built something that most athletes spend entire careers trying to build and never quite achieve. A fan base that is connected to her on an identity level, not just a sporting level. And the brands chasing her signature understand that this kind of connection doesn't depreciate.
It compounds.